you get that call? So, joining me on this discussion is anti-bullying activist Haseena Ally, who is also a wife and a mom to three energetic kids. She runs a girls' Darul Uloom in Persida Springs called Madrasa Hasinul Islam, which is her first love. Her mission is to spread a little bit of kindness because that's what the world needs. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Apa Haseena, and shukran for joining me once again.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and jazakallah for having me.
All right, Apa. So I think before we can really find out or solutions rather into bullying, we need to understand why kids bully. Why do they do it? If there are any behavioral patterns, if there's anything happening at home, we need to know where does the bullying behavior come from. So why do kids bully?
Okay, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So, studies show that there isn't a single reason as to why children bully. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but when we look at it, there's a few factors, but there's not one specific reason, right? We could look at the genetic temperaments, maybe of the parents. That could also be a factor. Disharmony in the home. When the parents maybe are not getting along, so this would naturally affect the child. Um, if maybe parents are going through a divorce, or maybe if the grandparents or someone who the child was very attached to passes away, if they play video games which are of a violent nature, there's also the reasons of maybe power seeking. Sometimes children look for attention, and that's why they would bully others. And there's the saying that goes also that hurt people hurt people. So perhaps maybe this child was once bullied before and they just replaying that behavior and putting it on others as well. Um, as well as sometimes the children are spoiled at home, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Then they feel that, everything is accepted. I don't know what no is. So they take this behavior and, it's taken in a negative way and, in turn they hurt other kids, right? And
Mm-hmm.
also jealousy. Some bullies are actually jealous of their victims and they feel better about themselves if they can break others down. So these are just a few, factors that can cause children to bully others.
All right. Now, when is it considered as bullying and not being playful? Because some kids just like to play like that, and
Mhm.
others might consider it as bullying. So, how can you tell the difference between bullying and just being playful or kids being kids?
Okay. So there is a difference, right? So let's say maybe in an event that there's a conflict. So when there's a conflict, what happens is that both children are responsible for that. But when it's bullying, it's aggressive behavior from one to the other child, to the innocent kid, right? And and also what happens is that when it's bullying, and also when they're playing, because when, for example, when kids like teasing each other, they reach a certain age when they get like teasing each other. In that way, it's playful when both parties are consenting and everybody's okay with it. It's light-hearted and it's not meant to be harmful, right? However, now when it's bullying, the bully basically intends to dominate, hurt, and shame, or even embarrass the other kid. So I think you would be able to see when it is playful and or when someone is basically bullying someone, because bullying basically is not playing,
Mm.
right? And the bully intends to hurt the other kid, like I mentioned, or embarrass them, or cause them some sort of a physical or emotional pain. So you will be able to differentiate. However, sometimes it can start out as the kids are playing, right?
Mm.
And then it ends in something else. But I think with bullying, the bully comes with that intention that I am, going to pick on this kid and so on. Because
Mm.
yes, playing can end in a conflict at the end. But these two kids were both fine initially and they were both consenting. But with bullying, the bully comes with that intention of afflicting harm or pain to the other child. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, how can parents tell if their own child is the bully?
So if your child is a bully, but as a parent, I don't think we'll be able to say this upfront, right? Because our
Mm-hmm.
kids are like alhamdulillah or little angels in front of us, and no
Yes.
parent, yeah, no parent wants to see their kid in that light, right? So if a parent now maybe maybe has an idea, or maybe they think that okay, my child is a bit domineering, so I'm going to start looking out. So when like for example with a group of kids and so on, that perhaps you won't be able to tell. But when they start playing and parents or adults are out of sight, that's where you'll be able to see. Example, maybe if there's cousins or maybe play dates and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So, having confidence is something else. But having this domineering behavior, which is overbearing, which now creates an imbalance in power, that's how now you'll be able to tell. And also, you, as a parent, you can look at the behavior of your child towards the other sibling, right? If
Mm-hmm.
they easily get angry and they always pushing the other child around, we know that there are sibling squabbles and so on. But you will be able to differentiate that this is an ongoing thing, right? So, so as a parent also, you've got to be able to observe the behavior, if
Mm-hmm.
it's an always, whichever setting your child is in, if maybe they're with cousins or they're with their friends or with siblings, they always, having this unwelcome, domineering behavior, which is, killing the spirit of others, then you'll be able to tell that, maybe there's something going on here. So that's how a parent can basically tell if there's maybe a hint of bullying within their kids.
Mm-hmm. And now, obviously, when you see such behavior, you want to step in and do something before it gets out of hand. So,
Mm-hmm.
when, like, from what age do we see these signs? If kids are either the bully or are going to be bullied or are being bullied, rather. So, is it like from toddler ages or post toddler ages, etc.?
I think it will depend, right? But I think
Mm-hmm.
more so maybe when the child starts being in a social environment, maybe they start going to school. Because
Mm-hmm.
when we're at home, I mean, we don't really see this, right? Maybe you could just, a parent would just say that, no, that's how they play with their sibling, whatever the case is. But now, as you mentioned initially, that when your kid comes home with a letter that the teacher wants to see because your kid is always maybe hurting or whatever the case is, other
Mm-hmm.
kids, you know, then I would say that perhaps maybe when they, I mean, I can't give you an exact age, right?
Yeah.
But maybe when they go to school, or perhaps maybe when they are with the cousins and things like that, then you'll be able to pick up these things. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
inshallah.
Yeah, because I'm totally confused with my daughter who's 3, and I don't know if if she's a bully or she just bullies me. I mean, or she's just standing up for herself. It's like it's confusing. Like I don't, and the thing is, I don't even have
Mhm.
any other one to compare her to. So it's like
Uh-huh.
I. I'm not sure. Is she a bully? Is she going to be a bully, or is she just standing up for herself? So
Mhm.
it's quite difficult to understand. But anyways, what can we do as parents to help our children or our child who is the bully?
Mhm. Okay. No, I totally hear you on the fact where, it's a bit confusing
Hmm.
because we also don't want to mistake in confidence and
Yeah.
for being a bully. Alhamdulillah, if a person has a confidence in a strong kid, that's awesome, right? So as parents, how we can help our children is having open conversations with them. And of course, I suppose age appropriate, um, asking them how was school today, and they'll tell you that someone took my pen, and so that will be your cue now to ask, okay, and so what did you do when somebody took your pen? And so having conversations actually, I think, is so important,
Hmm.
because in that way, allowing the child to be free and tell you their experience, and basically telling you their truth, and in that conversation, you can actually guide them and give them a better alternative example, instead of kicking or fighting, whatever, you could give them better ways in order for them to maybe take out their frustrations or, for them to maybe deal with the matters in a better way. Example, if you go to the teacher, how about if you, whenever you feel this way, how about if you do this? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think having conversations are quite important, even at an early age, actually, right? And and in these conversations, you would be able to find out what's bothering them. Okay. And also, I think very, very important, subhanAllah, is teaching them mercy, teaching them about being kind. You know, from an Islamic perspective, you know, when we ask children or even adults about the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, people will tell you, you know, a whole lot of different things. But people won't tell you that one of the biggest sunnahs is also being kind to each other. SubhanAllah. So I think in the time in which we're living in now, everybody's already having this nafsi, nafsi, I only worry about myself kind of attitude. But I think if we teach children about mercy and rahmah, you know, um, really there will be no bullying because you are working from a place of love and mercy towards others, you know. So with that also teaching them empathy, like how would you like it if somebody took your life? How would you like it? You know, because the opposite basically of being merciful and kind and being empathetic is being a zalim, basically is an oppressor. It is being abusive. So we don't want our children to fall into that. So I think it's important for us to teach them mercy, even within the household with their siblings as well. You know, because what happens sometimes is that we, as parents, we kind of overlook and if sometimes the younger sibling can bully the older sibling, and as parents will be like, you know, I mean, he's crying for the toy, just give it, or you know, like those kind of things. So I think we as parents also have to be very mindful in that way and be just and be fair towards our children as well, you know. And so for me, it's all about mercy now, subhanallah, you know. Like
Mm.
even with the workshops that I do for the anti-bullying and things like that, I actually had to have like you know sit down and I changed the whole approach now. The approach now is teaching mercy and teaching rahmah, which will not only be good for us, but also reviving the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and teaching the children husnul khuluq, which is good character. You know, like you said something to the effect in a hadith that a person basically a person maaf about this a person basically will reach such high levels on the day of Qiyamah because of good character.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, you know, having, looking at what we've mentioned, teaching children empathy and mercy, I think is very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think the kids will be, you know, will be okay once these things are emphasized, inshallah.
I mean, now, one mistake that I know parents often make is, when you spoke about the school and someone taking your item, perhaps a pen, or someone hit you or took your lunch or your money, etc., then
Mm-hmm.
parents encourage bullying behavior. Parents will be like, "Oh, you need to fight back. You need to take back what's
Mm-hmm.
yours, etc., etc." So, some kids are not built, to fight back and to react
Mm-hmm.
in a certain way that a parent would want them to. So what are some mistakes that we make as parents when it comes to addressing bullying, and how can we avoid those?
Okay, I'm going to discuss the one that you just mentioned now,
Yeah.
right? We need to understand that all children are not the same.
Mm-hmm.
You have some children who are, mashallah, super confident, and yes, they can handle their issues without even, you wouldn't even know that they were in an altercation that day because they handled things. But if you're going to have a child who's more on the phlegmatic kind of side and more on the, melancholic side, honestly, these kids are just going to go to one corner and just, deal with their sorrows. So it is important for us as parents, basically, yes, we should encourage them, like, in ways that will not take them out of their whole character, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're having maybe a child, maybe who's very, an introvert, and you're expecting this child like, to fight back, that's going to cause more harm than anything. When parents tell children, okay, when somebody does something to you, why don't you kick? Why don't you fight? Like how they
Mm-hmm.
kicking and fighting you? You know that could end up with the child perhaps having a concussion and so on. So there are ways in which it could be solved. Number one, scream. The child should scream and yell. to bring attention. So maybe, maybe an elder child or a child in a higher grade or a teacher or someone can come to the assistance of this child, right? If the child is able to run out, the child should run out of that environment. But advising the child to become physical with someone who is already a bully, I mean, they're all in the business, probably the one who's bullying, right? And you're asking someone who is inexperienced to basically become physical, it's not going to end well. So that's actually not good advice, subhanAllah. And then you're going to have two kids who are having bloodied noses and who knows what else. Then what do we do? Because at that point, will you be able to say now that it wasn't my child's fault, or like, so whose fault is it then? Because as the parent of the bullied child, we have also given that advice to fight physically back. Go to the teacher. And, you know, the thing is that we need to continue complaining as parents if we're not getting the results that we want. So what happens is that sometimes you go to the school. This is for younger kids because older kids don't want parents coming to the school, right? Because it's weird and it's embarrassing for them. But for the younger kids, you should continue complaining and escalating it until you get the desired result. Because at the end of the day, when we go and we complain, the school then knows that, you know what, I'm aware of the bullying that takes place here. Take it to the teacher, HOD, principal, you know, to the department, to the district. I don't know, however high you can get. But at the end of the day, we as parents are not going to be sitting and welcoming abuse, because that is abuse on a daily basis, because that's going to be killing our child. So you keep on going and until you get the desired results, because that is setting up not only for your child, but for all the children at the school and for years to come as well. You know, so basically each school should be a no bullying zone, you know, bully-free zone, basically. And this can only happen if, as parents, we do the right thing and we follow the correct protocols, inshallah. Yeah.
Inshallah, Ameen. And the schools definitely need to step up and do more when it comes to bullying, especially that bullying that's happening in schools. I mean, we've seen a lot of students who have died due to bullying, either committing suicide or, you know, getting beaten or stabbed or kicked to death, which is very, very unfortunate, and definitely something needs to be done about the bullying situations that we're currently facing. Abba, shukran for your time. That's all that we have at the moment, and have a wonderful day. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khair.
Apa Haseena Ally, an anti-bullying activist, taking us through discussing, how to deal when your child is the bully. You can send us your comments, questions, queries, or suggestions to our WhatsApp line on 061 766 0355. And don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms. Stay with us. We will be right back.
This is Salam Media, and you were tuned into Mid Morning Talk.
From the townships of South Africa, the refugee camps in Syria, or orphanages in Yemen, the eyes of the needy speak volumes with just one glare. We know what it's like to be at ground zero, with food essentials, clothing and blankets, fresh water portal trucks, and even on-site navigators. We use every cent to better their tomorrow. Become part of our journey to bring relief to all. Go to www.ashrafulaid.org or call us on 011-809-8181. Ashraful Aid, under the auspices of Maulana Suhail Wadi.
These days, I'm more health conscious than ever. So tonight, it's stir fry for dinner, cooked in healthy Helios pure sunflower cooking oil. Helios is pure sunflower goodness, packed with omega-6. That's good for your heart, and is approved as part of the Heart and Stroke Foundation eating plan. Dinner's ready! Helios, pure sunflower cooking oil. A healthy family is a happy one.
Did you know a sponsored water well and borehole allows children to go back to school, empowers communities, and is a means of sadaqah jariyah? There are many villages in Africa and Afghanistan that are in need of water wells and boreholes. Sponsor a water well in Africa at 14,500 rand, or a borehole in Africa and Afghanistan at 49,500 rand. Call Africa Muslims Agency on 011 834 8685 or donate at Africa Muslims Agency. Co.za. Africa Muslims Agency, inspiring the spirit of giving.
Babu, why don't you loosen your belt a bit more?
But why now?
Well, it's very tight, blocking air to your brain.
Haju, this is only a start. I need to tighten up a bit more. Funds are tight and the cost of living is high.
Funds are not tight. It's your haram insurance which is tightening our barakat.
Okay, Haju. I will call my insurance friend tomorrow.
Maybe I must tighten up on my cooking from now on too.
No, Haju. We don't need to tighten up. It's okay. Look, I'm even throwing away my belt.
Don't tighten your belt. Change your insurance. Leaving Riba Insurance is easier than you think. Call Amana IFS for all your personal and commercial takaful needs. 0861 786 393. Amana. Leave Riba for good. Amana IFS is a registered financial services provider.
I've been waiting.
Gift of the Needy is working tirelessly to bring relief and hope to families burdened by poverty and distress. Our ongoing projects include aid to those affected and infected by COVID-19. Donate now. Standard Bank, Gift of the Needy, Zakah account 272-327-654. Visit our website on www.giftoftheneedy.com. Call 031-271-3102. Gift of the Needy, bringing ease to those in need.
On air and online, this is Salam Media, and you are tuned to Mariam Kwanda on Salam Media.
It is 11:36. You are listening to the Mid-Morning Talk on Salam Media with me, Mariam Kwanda. So, while our society is well aware of female victims, often male victims of assault and rape are forgotten or neglected due to shame, stigma, and the like. Indeed, some may find it surprising that at least 1 in 6 boys are sexually abused before their 18th birthday. This number rises to 1 in 4 men who experience unwanted sexual events across their lifetime. To understand the effects of sexual abuse on male survivors, we have the founder of Matrix Men, Martin Pelder. Good morning, Martin. Thank you for joining me.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, and yourself?
All right.
Right, so what do we know about the rape and sexual assault of men?
Well, the first thing is that we need to get the numbers right. So 1 in 6 is not a number in South Africa. In South Africa, sadly, it's a lot worse. We find that 44% of all boys will have suffered some form of sexual abuse by age 18. So the 1 in 6 is derived from the American and Canadian standard. We believe that it's not 1 in 6 there, but they still need to do the research. So in South Africa, we have research, and that pegs it at 44%. Or there was a recent study done in 2016, the Optimus study, where it was 36.9% of all boys by age 16. So yeah, it's a lot worse than what we perceive it to be in South Africa.
Yes, it is a lot worse, and it is very common because 44% is a big number. But why is no one talking about it?
Well, I suppose there's this perception that men can't be abused. We'd like to think that we're strong enough, and there's been a focus on the feminine for so long now that we've kind of forgotten about the hurt and broken masculine, and it's just we sort of catching up, in terms of the feminist movement has been going for a very long time. It's been going since the 40s, 50s. And men have only started talking about these things in the last sort of 10, 15 years in South Africa. So we got to catch up, and we just got to raise awareness, and we just got to make it normal. We got to say, listen, it's okay to talk about these things. It's okay. You're not less masculine because you suffered sexual abuse as a child. You know, in fact, you're braver and you're more masculine for coming out and talking about it and dealing with it, because the net effect is that you are going to be a much better father, a much better husband, much better person to your family and to those around you.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk about the effects that sexual abuse and rape, or rather sexual assault, has on men, the long and short-term effects.
Yeah, long term, it's varied. You know, I mean, have we got 2 hours?
Mhm.
Sorry, how many hours did we have? That's no. So it's varied. So I think the first most prominent issues that happen with men are anger, addiction. So when I talk about addiction, I'm talking broad spectrum addiction. So addiction to alcohol, drugs, pornography, food, gym, work, you know, all that sort of stuff. So anything that's dysfunctional, that you spend a disproportionate amount of time on in your life, so that you avoid having to deal with family, or avoid having to deal with the everyday things that happen in your life, we would call it an addiction. So anger, addiction, the inability to stay faithful in a relationship is another one. And you know, it's almost, men, I often counsel men, and they say, I don't want to have affairs. It just happens, and I just find myself doing it, and I don't understand why. And they actually hate themselves for it, you know. So that's another one. Low self-esteem, men who feel they're not worthy, don't deserve anything, you know. So that's a big issue. And essentially depression, anxiety, those who have been diagnosed with mental disorders like borderline personality disorder, bipolar, etc., etc. So depression, anxiety, there's quite a few. When you take, it's not just going to be one of, it'll be a collection of various elements that will point towards somebody who's suffered abuse in their life.
Mm-hmm. And how does the abuse affect sexuality?
The abuse affects sexuality in that it causes confusion. So, for instance, I was chatting to somebody this morning, and I had a young man who was raped and abused by an auntie from the age of 5 to about the age of 13. He tried to speak to his parents about it. They were just like, oh, nonsense, auntie would never do that, you know. And the net effect for him was that he detests women. He hates women. And therefore, he now finds solace in the arms of men, specifically older men. So he's always looking for a father figure because his father wasn't very present. So, you know, it's a whole conglomeration of issues that sexual abuse survivors face. You know, so fatherlessness, narcissistic mothers, aggressive. You know, there's a big issue that surrounds it. Normally, we find that children that are sexually abused aren't just victims of one specific form of abuse. They will be abused by their parents in terms of emotional neglect, you know, sometimes physical neglect or physical abuse. And so for him, it was a case of he became homosexual, but didn't really display that as a sexual choice, if you know what I'm saying, or a sexual, you know, what do they call it nowadays? You know, this is a very delicate ground that we deal with. Other men also suffer a sexual identity crisis. So in other words, they are married and they would watch gay pornography to get their jollies, because there's this conflict in their minds. You know, one of the biggest issues about sexual abuse is that it's not always a violent act. Sometimes it can be an incredibly loving act. You know, so if you get a child who comes from a home and is neglected, he's abused at home, and he finds a man who then abuses him, but in a loving way. You know, it's, oh, I love you so much, you're so amazing, let's do this together. You know, it becomes a good experience. Even though it's bad, it becomes a good experience for him. And this is another issue that boys face, because girls face it too. Because the actual physical feeling in your body is pleasurable, but your mind might be saying, no, it's not right. So there's this mind-body disconnect where men are confused. You know, my body betrayed me, or it was pleasurable, but it felt so wrong, and that sort of thing. So yes, sexual identity. A lot of guys grew up being abused by a man and identify as homosexual. It's a difficult case. I know men who've been abused by other men, or boys that have been abused, who grow up and don't identify. In fact, they detest men. So it's a difficult thing, but there is definitely a sexual identity issue in a lot of victims of abuse.
All right, Martin, we're going to take a quick break, but when we return, I'd like us to debunk the myths around sexual abuse for men.
This is Salam Media, and you were tuned into Mid Morning Talk.
Doozy Med Medicine Depot Retail Pharmacy and Emergency Medical Depot, conveniently situated in the Doozy Med Medical Center, corner Burger and Bosser Street, Pietermaritzburg. We provide safe, affordable, and convenient medical facilities, open till 10 p.m. every day of the year. We have a full-house clinic that operates from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., which is run by a qualified sister. The clinic offers immunization, vaccination, wellness, general consultation, and more. Call Doozy Med Medicine Depot on 033 3421 Doozy Med Medicine Depot, your pharmacy of choice.
Durban, KwaZulu-Natal has been the hardest hit by the recent civil unrest. Hundreds of supermarkets, factories and warehouses have been looted and destroyed. Thousands have lost their jobs and are in need of food and household supplies. Penny Appeal South Africa is currently on the ground working with communities to provide essential items to those severely affected. Donate toward the Penny Appeal Hardship Fund today and assist us in caring for families for a 3-month period with essentials and assistance to small businesses affected by the devastating effects of the unrest. Help us help our city. www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 11 00 573. Penny Appeal. Small change, big difference.
What makes Randery Jewelers the optimum place for your memorable gift? Is it our range of exclusive, high-end, luxurious jewellery? Or is it our master craftsmanship of all your bespoke jewellery needs? We believe it's because at Randery Jewelers, we know just how to make your special moments last forever. Whether it's for a wedding, anniversary, or just a simple gift to show your love, trust Randery Jewelers to make it special. www.randeryjewelers.com. Make your moments last forever with Randery Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
Osman's Taj Mahal Spice and Rice. For over 80 years, Osman's Taj Mahal have been perfecting the art of the perfect blend of spices, pure, aromatic, and well-seasoned. Spices to tantalize your taste buds. From creative cuisines to gastronomical gourmet goodies. From exotic odors to traditional dishes, Osman's Taj Mahal have remained synonymous with quality spices and condiments. Taj Mahal rice, beans, and lentils. Try our range of chili bite mixes, rose and ilachi syrup, our quick and easy biryani pack, and our traditional range of spice blends. Osman's Taj Mahal. There is no substitute for quality.
Africa. For your convenience, the Africa Muslims Agency's Durban office has moved to 797 Jan Smuts Highway, Sherwood, Durban. Our friendly staff are eagerly awaiting to receive, advise, and share with you the current ongoing campaigns and projects that you have been supporting for the last 35 years. Visit us at 797 Jan Smuts Highway, Sherwood, or call 031 207 5676. Africa Muslims Agency, inspiring the spirit of giving.
Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media, coming to you live from South Africa.
Welcome back. You are listening to the Mid-Morning Talk on Salam Media with me, Mariam Mukonda, and we are talking about the effects that are on what am I saying? The effects of sexual abuse on male children, boys, male survivors, etc. And my guest for today is Martin Pelder, the founder of Matrix Men. Martin, thank you for staying on the line. For our viewers and our listeners, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section or send them to us on WhatsApp. The number is 061 7660355. Now, there are many myths around male sexual assault and male abuse. So let us debunk some of those myths, Martin.
Sure. Where'd you like to start? So, well, the first myth is, of course, that men can't be raped or boys can't be raped. Of course, they can. I mean, if we look at the strict definition of rape in the law in South Africa, it is the penetration or forcing somebody to penetrate. So whether it be mouth, anus, or vagina, it's rape. Then molestation is, of course, somebody who touches inappropriately, where your costume covers you. So for girls, it would be breast or bikini bottom. For boys, it'll be the speedo. So those are the issues that we look at. A lot of men, besides the embarrassment of the whole thing, there's the masculine myth that men can't be raped, or that, just forget about it, it'll go away. Those issues, it doesn't go away. It stays buried in your subconscious, and it's going to come out at some point in your life anyway. Other myths are that men can't be raped by women, that you are able to control yourself. And unfortunately, that's not true. Another myth is that if you had an orgasm, you enjoyed it and you wanted it. That is also not true. We compare it to
Martin,
what we call...
Just a second there, I've lost sound. Not quickly checking if it's on my side or if it's on your side.
Sorry. Can you hear me now? Hello? Hello? Hello?
No, still nothing. All right. I just lost sound over there. I'm still trying to figure out what are the technicalities here. You know how it is with these systems that we have. But if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section or send them to us. We are talking about the effects of sexual abuse on men, male survivors, with Martin Pelder, the founder of Matrix Men. And we're also going to be getting a bit of insight into Matrix Men, who is Matrix Men, and what they do, and where you can get some more information. Martin, I think it's better now.
Okay.
I can hear you. Right.
There we go.
Sorry about that. We were talking about the myths around male sexual abuse.
Yeah, I don't know how far we got. I think we were talking about the fact that men can't be raped by women.
Yeah.
So that is also not true. The other one was that, unfortunately, men have kind of two bodies. It's your physical body, and then you have your penis. And unfortunately, that sort of has a mind of its own. And if it's touched and caressed, it will react and respond. So the other issue was, I think we were talking about, if you have an orgasm, you enjoyed it and you wanted it, which is also not true. We call that what we call the tickle effect. If somebody had to pin you down and start tickling you, your desire is not to laugh. Your desire is to actually throw them off and maybe hit them. But your natural body reaction is you start laughing. And that's the same for girls who are unfortunately raped. They will lubricate, they will orgasm. It's a natural body response. So these are a few of the myths that we encounter when it comes to men and women, in fact, who have suffered rape and sexual abuse. Yes.
All right, Martin, let's talk a little bit about Matrix Men. It was established back in 2012. What was the aim behind establishing such an organization?
It was to create a space where men who've suffered sexual abuse can come out and speak about it, to create a safe space. In those days, even therapists didn't talk about it. And, you speak about 2012, it sounds like it was just yesterday. Yeah. But the attitudes were so very different. I used to, when I started Matrix Men, phone into radio stations, etc. And people would laugh at me and go, like, no, man, you're talking nonsense. It doesn't happen to men. And slowly attitudes are changing. It's been a long process. But we start in that space, so creating safe spaces for men to be able to talk about abuse and the issues that they suffered as children, and it's evolved. We just recently, 2 months ago, we opened up the first free mental health men's clinic in Africa, something that we're very proud of, and it's a goal that I've had for a long, long time, to open a wellness center where men can come in, where men can feel safe to be able to talk about the issues that they've encountered in life. And, we've just coined the phrase, we're trying to make therapy woke for men, because, men just, you're not manly enough if you go for therapy, you're not a strong enough guy if you need to go and speak to a therapist, which is nonsense. It's just a space where you can go and unpack issues that you're facing in your life and deal with them. It's that simple. And, we're just trying to encourage men to talk about the issues. And so for those men who are out there who are depressed, who suffer from anxiety, who have suicidal thoughts, I mean, the 10th in 2 days' time, it's International Suicide Prevention Day. And we got to face the facts that 23 men a day in South Africa successfully complete suicide. It's a shocking statistic. We are 4 times more likely to commit suicide in South Africa than any other country in the world. And there's issues there. And, I ascribe it to, number one, the extreme poverty that we have in South Africa, and number two, the incredibly high rates of sexual abuse that we have amongst men. So these are issues that we need to talk about, and we're just trying to, as Matrix Men, create that space where men can feel safe enough and sit down and have a cup of coffee and just talk about things.
Now, are more men coming forward to talk about the traumatic experiences?
We are, fortunately, yes. Otherwise, all of this effort would have been for naught. But fortunately, yes. We get in a lot of men that are coming through and sitting down. We're getting more men joining our groups. We run support groups for various issues, anger management, abuse and trauma recovery. We do divorce support as well. And, for those guys that have been alienated from their children in divorce, we help there as well. But we try our best to help. Not always possible, but yes, we are getting a lot more men coming through, which is heartening. We'd like to see a lot more, definitely. We'd like to see thousands, but we'll have to build up slowly because we don't have the resources at this stage.
Yeah.
Our ultimate goal. Sorry.
Tell us about the project of Matrix Men, Ketedi.
Ketedi was a project that I started a few years ago. And the concept, it was kind of a combination concept, a way to raise funds, because a few years ago, people weren't donating towards male survivors. It just wasn't, men get raped, we're not going to do that. So Ketedi, we started up to do 2 things: raise funds for Matrix Men and to give teddy bears to children who've been sexually abused and molested. So what we did is we raised, actually, we didn't raise much money. People kind of didn't like the concept. Well, I sponsor a bear for a victim of childhood sexual abuse. But all the bears went to children in what we call care or comfort packs. So there's organizations around that would, like the Epic Foundation and a couple more, Teddy Bear Foundation, those sort of people would put together care packs for victims of sexual abuse. So in that, there'd be like a change of underwear, a little teddy bear, a deodorant, and a couple of other things, little items that just, comfort items. And those would go to the hospitals. So children that come in who've been sexually abused or raped, they would then get this care pack. And the teddy bear would be a part of that. So we managed to put together about 500-600 teddy bears and donate them to various organizations. Didn't really get a lot of money for it, though. I think in all we probably raised 2,500 rand. But we weren't really marketing well, and I put it on ice for a while. But we're going to revive that again, and we're going to kick that off and hopefully get it going properly this time.
Oh, well, I think it's a great project, and you should definitely revive it because when I was reading about it, I was